Hey everybody, it's Tom and T from Show Me Coasters. Welcome to episode 2 of the Legacy series, Six Flags St. Louis.
Today we're looking at the park's history from the 1990s to the 2010s.
So let's take a look at the 1990s. The digital age has arrived.
And life as we know it will never be the same.
This decade saw the evolution of disco become techno music.
And Madonna made voguing an international sensation, torturing us with the Gaultier missile bra.
Forever sealing that image in our head.
And R.E.M. was losing their religion.
And Nirvana introduced us to the Seattle grunge scene, making us all wish we smelled like Teen Spirit. Leonardo DiCaprio declared himself king of the world in the biggest box office smash of the century, Titanic.
Also in this decade, we saw the arrival of the industry giant, B&M and Intamin.
These are the rides that were added in the 1990s. Welcome to the 90s. Like the 80s, most of the rides that were added during this decade are still intact.
Except for a few exceptions, such as Tidal Wave, Speedy Gonzales Speedway, Castaway Kids, and the go-karts.
And during the 90s, the park starts to take the shape we know today,
with the additions of Looney Tunes and DC theming. Gone were the Sid and Marty Krofft shows and replaced by the Hollywood stunt shows.
Another area that saw a lot of changes was where Pandemonium stands today, and that's the old Dolphin Show. It went from the Dolphin Show to the American Diving Team and then to the Robin Hood Stunt Spectacular.
And at the end of the decade was the introduction of the Acrobat of China, which lasted a few years because they built Tony Hawk, now Pandemonium.
If you've ever been to St. Louis in the middle of the summer, you know how hot and humid it can get. And in 1991, Six Flags added a new ride to the park that really helped with that situation, Tidal Wave.
This ride was the third option so the public could cool down.
Millions of us have waited on the bridge waiting for that wall of water to crash over us.
And let's talk about that first major big investment Warner Brothers did for Six Flags. Batman, what is your memory of this ride, Tom?
Oh my god, I thought it was the craziest thing I ever saw. There was no way I was ever going to hang off the bottom of a roller coaster.
But after you rode it, you fell in love.
Oh yeah, immediately. That was the best ride ever.
Yeah, the public fell in love with this ride. Yeah, Batman was not meant to stay with Six Flags St. Louis.
No, it was originally part of the ride rotation program. It was supposed to leave. But it was so popular that they had to keep it. And Six Flags added a lot of these to the parks, about 9 total. And what one distinction is, Six Flags St. Louis and the one at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, are mirrored clones. Instead of turning to the left at the top of the drop, ours turned to the right.
Let's look at our other signature ride, Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze opened in 1998 and was only one of 2 ever built, here and Six Flags over Texas.
But yeah, during this decade, there was a lot of Batman movies, and I remember seeing this from waiting in line for Thunder River. I was like, oh hell no, I'm never riding that, but of course we were.
Yeah, when it first opened, you would launch forward out of the station, and after you got to the top of the needle and started back down, it would jam your back at that transition from the needle into the rest of the ride.
I remember, yeah, that was kind of painful. I'm glad in 2012 they changed to reverse blast, and it seems to be a little bit better, but it's still a classic of Six Flags St. Louis.
And in 1999, the park got its major expansion whenever they added Hurricane Harbor, the park's water park.
And about 40 acres to the park. It was much needed, and I think it was a great addition. And we're one of the few parks that, during the summer, the water park's probably actually more popular than the dry park. Yeah, so it was a great addition. So that's it, folks, looking at the 90s.
Next, we're going to take a look at the golden years for Six Flags St. Louis, the 2000s.
Welcome to the new millennium. There's a lot of history crammed into this decade.
Starting with the Y2K scare in 1999 that left the world wondering if it was going to shut down.
And the infamous hanging Chad that left the presidency hanging.
And 9/11, the day our hearts stopped and we came together as a nation.
And the Enron scandal that left many people's lives saving destroyed.
And in 2005, Hurricane Katrina destroyed the Gulf Coast.
In 2008, the market crashed, sending our country into recession.
And the election of the first African American president, Barack Obama.
These are the rides that was added in the 2000s. The new millennium started with a big bang at Six Flags St. Louis with the Boss, the 6th longest coaster in the world when it was built.
And this decade saw the addition of 2 other great coasters to the lineup, Tony Hawk's Big Spin and Evel Knievel. Tony Hawk's Big Spin became Pandemonium and Evel Knievel became American Thunder.
Also in this decade, we saw the kids section, the Looney Tune Town, move to its current location, Bugs Bunny National Park.
And we also saw the addition of 2 great flat rides, Excalibur that came from Six Flags Great Adventure on the Ride Exchange program, and Superman Tower of Power that came from the defunct Six Flags Astroworld.
And the newly built Hurricane Harbor also received some love in this decade with the addition of Wahoo Racer and the Tornado.
And Castaway Kids became Scooby-Doo Ghost Blasters, Mystery of the Haunted Swamp.
An interactive dark ride.
And in 2009, Six Flags ran into some financial difficulties,
filing bankruptcy at the end of the decade. And I think, in my opinion, if Six Flags didn't go into financial difficulties, I think we would have received a hyper. It was making its round around all the Six Flags park. We were the few exceptions that did not get a hyper coaster.
I agree. I think our park got cheated out of a new coaster after the bankruptcy. During the 2000s, they were adding hypers everywhere. Even a small park like Six Flags America got a hyper coaster.
Even with the bankruptcy, this decade saw a lot of growth and expansion.
So that's going to do it for our look at the new millennium. We're going to head into the 2010s. Welcome to the 2010s, the comeback decade.
This decade is full of inspirational comeback stories and heart-wrenching issues that threatens to divide the nation. In 2011, the Cardinals won their 11th World Series. This is Game 6 of the World Series that kept us up till 2 in the morning.
In 2014, a negative light was shined on the St. Louis region with the shooting of Michael Brown by a police officer.
This brought the race issue to the national front and the birth of Black Lives Matter.
In 2015, the Supreme Court allowed gay and lesbian Americans to finally marry.
In 2016, we saw the Cubbies win their first World Series in 108 years. In 2016, we also saw a New York businessman become our 45th president, Donald Trump.
Also in this decade, women stood up for their rights. The birth of the Me Too movement.
And in 2019, the St. Louis Blues finally won the Stanley Cup Finals.
Here's what was added to the park in the 2010s. In 2011, Sky Screamer. 2012, Bonsai Pipeline. 2013, Boomerang. 2014 was Tsunami Soaker. 2015, Justice League Battle for Metropolis. 2016, Fireball. 2017, Spin Sanity. 2018, Typhoon Twister. And last but not least, in 2019, we saw Supergirl's Skyflyer. Welcome to the decade of the flat rides at Six Flags St. Louis.
You know, this decade has been getting a lot of hate because the coaster enthusiasts want coaster, but now we look back at the lineup, they weren't bad. Yeah, we could have got one big coaster in this decade, but it's not bad. So what's your thought on the lineup for the 2010s, Tom?
You know, it's not bad. Like you said, it's really not that bad of a
substantial size.
Yeah, we got some decent flat rides, and our park really did need flat rides. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. You know, I would have liked to have seen a new coaster, but it just wasn't in the works.
Yeah, they were still recovering from bankruptcy. So in 2011, we got Sky Screamer. What's your memory of this stuff?
Oh man, the first time I saw it, I thought, well, that looks kind of cool. And then we rode it, and I was like, no, get me off of it now. That chain looks like they went down the street to Walmart and bought the chain.
I remember you saying, oh, hell no, I'm not riding this again. This is a death trap. It's a Walmart chain, 235 feet in the air. But, you know, even though Tom didn't ride this for a long time, this is one of my favorite flat rides.
It's grown on me.
On any park.
In 2012, we got an addition to our water park, the Bonsai Pipeline.
The thing that scared me about this ride is most slide, you know, you drop in an angle. This one dropped you straight down. It's like a human toilet. You feel like, you know, it's like, oh my god, I hope my legs are not twisted and stuff.
And that's the thrill of it, is that drop.
Yeah. But it was a great addition. The true diehard would do this ride, but you know, it's not for the faint of heart.
No. And then in 2013, instead of giving us a really great coaster, they took away my favorite flat ride at the park, the Dodge cart.
The bumper car, yeah.
And gave us the Boomerang.
Which is relocated from Six Flags over Texas.
And, you know, I mean, it's a coaster, I get it, but it's like the cheapest coaster you could find.
Yeah, but they did try to give us a coaster, so it is our lineup, you know, it's better than nothing.
Right. 2014 was kind of cool when they added to Tsunami Soaker. It kind of throws back to the days when we had the Hannah barrels, it kind of the same concept,
with a water element.
But it has the water element added to it, so it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, this area needs to be revamped, and I'm glad they started adding Tsunami Soaker in 2014 because it was the shoulder market area was beginning to look sad and run down. With this addition and another flat ride down, it kind of brought the area back
a little bit, yeah. So, and then for 2015, we were one of the first two parks to get
Six Flags Over Texas and us.
Yeah, Justice League Battle for Metropolis. Now this replaced the old Scooby-Doo ride,
but it was a great addition.
This is an awesome addition. It's a great way to cool down when it's really hot outside too.
This is one of the highlight additions in this decade.
And then in 2016,
we got the Fireball. It seems like all the Six Flags park were getting Fireballs in the 2015 and 2016, I think. Or only maybe one or two Six Flags parks don't have the Fireball.
But really, the sad thing about the Fireball, I mean, it's a decent flat ride.
It's a flat ride.
But
it's not.
Six Flags is trying to market it as a coaster.
And coaster enthusiasts was giving us grief for that.
And then in 2017, instead of giving us the 4D free spin we were supposed to get.
Yeah, because the year before, there was an accident on the Boomerang, and everyone thought, okay, they're going to make up for Six Flags St. Louis and remove the Boomerang and give us the 4D free spin. Instead, they gave it to
Chicago,
which don't need it. They have 15 coasters already.
And what we did get was Spinsanity, the Zamperla Disco.
It was the deluxe model, but it was still like there was a lot of hate for this ride. But now it grew on me. I love this ride.
It's not bad. I like it.
It's a big version.
And then in 2018, we got a water park edition.
But they took away
took away our speed slides.
The giant body slide.
Yeah, the giant body
which was cutting people's back.
Yeah. And gave us Typhoon Twister, and at first I was like, why? This doesn't even look all that fun. But once I actually got to ride it, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Had the bowl and the wall.
Yeah, that wall is amazing. And then, last but not least, for 2019,
we got Supergirl.
Skyflyer, which replaced our Highland Flame.
Yeah.
The old Haas Enterprise. But that thing was getting pretty old, that's for sure.
They couldn't find a part to replace it, so it was a good addition. I mean,
Supergirl is a great addition. I just wish they would have went with the two-seat,
the one like Catwoman's Whip in
Yeah.
Six Flags Over Texas.
That would have been so much better. And also in 2019, we saw the removal of a couple of long-time flat rides at our park. The Tidal Wave and the go-karts. And those are going to be sorely missed. I know a lot of kids really like the go-karts.
So that's it, folks, looking at the history of Six Flags St. Louis from the 70s to the 2010s.
We're really looking forward to the 2020 season and really looking forward to 2021 for the park's 50th.
I'm glad you invited us into your homes in this trying time, so please love one another and
Stay safe.
Stay safe and prayer that we'll get through this as a nation. This is T.
This is Tom.
Have a good night.
Have a great night.